versus C. Ben Tornfist and Arthur Carbonell, Valentino Fritsch and Harry Thompson from Jean Luyet and Danilo Albanese, Nikita Artemanov and Slavik Petyatin, Alessio Larandi and Jakob Talas, Rodrigo Ferreira and Alex Dahlberg from Tom Lulet and Kasper Kalasma, Leonardo Bisotto and Giacomo Pallini from Janis Civico and Paavo Tonteri, Arto Wajaranta and David Levinsky, Federico Mascialino and David Trevelov, Alexandra Aru and Thomas Mishik from Christian Gafuri and Chris Zani, Gabriel Bezazero and Lawrence Van Huppen from Hannah Lang and Karl Lukashevsky, Belen Garcia and Craig Tanich, Luka Bosco and Noam Abramczyk. 34 drivers, many of whom are competing in the International Super Cup for the first time, and 2 lady drivers in the field in this particular heat, 3 of them in the entire pack. In this heat, it is Hannah Lang of Great Britain and Belen Garcia of Spain. They really struggled in qualifying yesterday, to be fair, unlike their compatriot and colleague Natalia Balbo on the Formula K, who so nearly grabbed a top 10 finish in the opening heat. Looking good for her to make it through to the finals, but obviously there is a long way to go before we can start talking about that in earnest. So once again, the KZ2 drivers prepare for 15.6 kilometers of racing around this tight and twisty 1.2 kilometer South Garda circuit. Tight and twisty in the middle sections, but it's also characterized by a lot of fast straights. It's the ultimate challenge, this. You've got 2 types of setup to focus on, the high speed, but also the tight, very, very short hairpins. So it's going to be a tricky battle for all of the competitors as they duel for the victory here at Lonato in their second KZ2 heat. Tornqvist and Carbonell, Fritsch and Thompson, Luyet and Albanese, Artemanov and Petyatin, Lorandi and Talas, Ferreira, Dahlberg, Lulet, Kalasma, Bisotto, Pallini, Civico, Tonteri, Ojaranta, Levinsky, Mascialino, Trevelov, Aru, Mishik, Gafuri, Zani, Bezazero, Van Hopen, Lang, Lukashevsky, Garcia, Tanich, Bosco and Abramczyk. The last few karts on the starting grid forming up into their positions, and we will wait for the start. The flag marshal comes away from the front of the grid. The drivers will get ready for the start. Let's race again. Now! Cracking start from the front, but a terrible start from Tornqvist, and that really bottlenecks the field as they come through the first couple of corners. Is everybody going to get through okay? Nowhere near enough spray. Oh! Collision in the middle of the field as there's a spin. It's the 115 that spun initially. That's Valentino Fritsch, and Trevelov's gone in. Trevelov again in trouble. The 163 is in that lot as well. I'm afraid to say that's also disastrous news for Gabriel Bezazero. But for the second race in a row, David Trevelov is out of action. He can't believe it. It was all going so beautifully in the European Championships. He finished 3rd. Now it's absolute disaster. You've got to feel for David Trevelov. 2 DNFs. It's almost impossible to qualify for the final from that. He's going to have to win all 3 of his later heats. Look at Lorandi dancing around Tornqvist and then on the inside of Albanese. Welcome back to the FIA karting scene, Alessio Lorandi. And he's up in 3rd place. No wonder he was a Formula 2 racer. He's clearly got the talent and the speed to do it. He's reminding everybody, don't forget about me. I know exactly what I'm capable of, thank you. And I've got the natural talent to prove it. So Valentino Fritsch has continued. He's got going again. But I'm sorry to say that both David Trevelov and Gabriel Bezazero are out of it. Nice battle in the midfield here. That is the 186 of Jakob Talas having to deal with the 129 coming around the outside of Alex Dahlberg. So not a great run there for Talas as he's lost a couple of places, but Arthur Carbonell still running a great race. And who's in second? It's Harry Thompson. He got away from all of that in P2. And now catching him is Alessio Lorandi, former single-seater start, coming back to Paralin. Could really use a little bit of extra help to get him back into the Grand Prix paddock once again. He's been there before. He knows how to get it done. But he has the natural talent and speed in KZ2 to get back to the front. Albanese, Petyatin, Pallini. What's happening with Tornqvist? He's had absolutely no luck, and that is a crash, unfortunately, for Noam Abramczyk. So Noam Abramczyk has had an issue, and he's out of the race then. Very big disaster for the Frenchman as up the inside. That's well held there on the inside line from the 120 of Jean Louillet, the Swiss driver. His brother will be out later, of course, Sam Louillet. But around the outside, this is going to be an interesting one as getting power and banging wheels with Louillet. That was a tough one there for Alex Dahlberg. He had to back out of the throttle very carefully there. Otherwise, the back end of the kart would have swapped ends. Speaking of which, a Praga very nearly losing it altogether. Tom Louillet getting sideways. So that got very messy very quickly there. Could have ended very nastily indeed. So down the straight, Arthur Carbonell continues to lead in front of Thompson and Lorandi. Fourth place is Albanese in front of Petiatin. And then it is Polini. Tornfist is in the mix there as well with Jean Louillet. So an absolutely fascinating battle. Oh, and there's more contact. That's Louillet and Talas. Tom Louillet and Jacob Talas. And their karts are wedged into each other there. So there's nothing they could do about that one. That's game over for both drivers, I'm afraid. What a shame. So Tom Loulet's amazing drive in the opening heat. It's come to nothing in the second. Louillet is absolutely determined to get his kart off the machine of Jacob Talas, though. And still they battle. Oh, someone's not happy. That's the 156, I think. Kasper Kalasma. Oh! Now that is not very sporting. Jacob Talas and Tom Louillet not seeing eye to eye there at all, I'm afraid. Well, both their races are over. I think Jacob Talas was not particularly happy with Tom Louillet trying to recover his kart by wedging it off of his. It didn't quite go according to plan, that did it? So a fabulous run from Arthur Carbonell. No problems at all for him out front. Harry Thompson second, Lorandi third from Albanese, Petiatin, Polini, Tornfist, Dahlberg, Louillet, Tonteri, Levinsky and Bizotto. And despite losing a lap, Tom Louillet has got going again. He's obviously decided, well, I can still finish the race. And you don't know how many drivers are going to finish the race. That's the problem. So Tom Louillet, who we thought was out of the race, has actually got going again. But I wonder if it's only to bring the kart back into the pit lane. It may well be as he comes through. And indeed he does. Tom Louillet brings his kart straight back into the pits. So he's not going to finish the race. Oh, goodness me. This is getting a little bit hectic. Petiatin battling away with Albanese and Polini. And Petiatin gets through. Slavik Petiatin, the young man from the Ukraine, comes through into fourth position. Nice bit of racecraft from him as he keeps Albanese and Polini at bay. Great campaign from Petiatin in 2020, going very well here. And there's Polini on the inside of Albanese. He gets through. Watch out for Tornfist. He wants to get through as well, but he can't quite find the space to get through on the inside line. Wow, fascinating stuff from the drivers at the moment. It's still very close indeed. But Slavik Petiatin going very well indeed in P4. He cuts around the outside there to defend from Polini, who has another good crack at it. So it's going to continue to be a very strong battle as the drivers ease their way through. Still a very tough encounter for all of the competitors. They're still trying their hardest to get through on the inside line. But this is a very tall battle for the drivers out front. They still want to make it very hard indeed up at the front end of the field. So Polini trying to fend off from Tornfist now, who's got through into fifth place. Carbonell leading Thompson, Lorandi, Petiatin. Tornfist into fifth place ahead of Polini and Albanese. Here comes the move again from Dahlberg to get through on the inside of Albanese. He's just about making it stick. There's not a lot of room. Careful, chaps. Don't bang wheels there, for goodness sake. That would have been a nasty incident. But round the outside, Dahlberg's got grip. Thank you very much. That'll do nicely. Lovely move from Dahlberg. As he gets through on Albanese. Gets that one sorted out, no problem. Still very slippery out there on the course. Still a lot of standing water in places. As Alessio Lorandi closes up on Harry Thompson. So he wants to keep it going. Not going to be so easy. But it will be a very tough and intense run. So let's see how close it gets as the Randy drifts wide off the turn. Thompson holds his line. No concern there, no panic. But the Paralympic driver is getting himself very closely in behind Harry Thompson. And the battle is raging at the moment. So Arthur Carbonell and Harry Thompson out in front. Although Lorandi has caught right up to Harry Thompson. Don't forget that the Brit is only in his first weekend in the gearbox ranks of karting at the FIA. And that's a move from Lorandi into second place. Thompson will now want to have another go. But to be honest, with 5.5 laps remaining, third position is not a bad effort from Harry Thompson if he can stay there. He's still got plenty of time to get himself up the order once more. So the drivers are working very hard, but we've lost 5 of the competitors from this race now. Tom Lulette, Jacob Talas, Noam Abramczyk, David Trevelov and Gabriel Bizzazero. As Lorandi comes through in second place still, drifting a little bit wide on through turn 2 and 3. But the Paralympic driver still working hard as he edges away from Harry Thompson and tries to close up on Arthur Carbonell. He does have some time actually, because the Paralympic driver now in second place has got the measure of this kart and this circuit once again. So we might be able to charge our way close onto the back of Arthur Carbonell. It's going to be interesting to see if he's got the opportunity to make it happen. They come off the turn, riding the curbs, coming up towards the hairpin in the right-hander now. And there might still be a chance. But this is so tight. But this is a very difficult race meeting for the drivers in the KZ2, because now, the rain having stopped, it's drying out in places, but there are still some wet patches around the course. Very greasy indeed for the drivers. The tyres are going to really start to struggle for grip in the latter stages of heats if no more rain falls. And you can see there Lorandi actually bringing his car over to the part of the circuit where there is standing water in order to keep the tyres cool, essentially. So it's a very tricky scenario for the drivers, but they obviously have to keep it going as much as humanly possible. So as the drivers continue to tiptoe their way around the course, you've just got to be so careful and so cautious. Carbonell out in front of Lorandi and Thompson. Fourth place is Puciatin. Puciatin has sensed that Thompson not quite as fast as he was. He might be able to snatch a third place from him. So he's setting off after him as best as he can. It's not going to be the easiest race to get sorted, but he's definitely going to be pushing hard to try and get his way through. So they continue on their way. Up on the far side of the course, Harry Thompson running a very solid third place here. But Slavik Puciatin is catching him. And Puciatin will want to steal the third place away if he got a chance of it. This has been a really solid effort from Slavik Puciatin this weekend thus far. He's in fourth place behind this man, Harry Thompson. Fair play to Harry Thompson as well. It's never easy to come away having been chewed up and spat out of the Red Bull Young Driver program, but he has fought his way back. Got himself well cemented in with Forza Racing this year. Been solid and smooth in the OK category, and now he's here in Gearbox, and he is a front runner in KZ2. But here's Alessio Lorandi. He's had a very topsy-turvy career these last 2 or 3 seasons. He decided for 2020, well, I've got good connections with the Baby Race Driver program within Paralympic. I want to come back and have a play in the World Championship weekend. And here he is in KZ2, having a wonderful time of it. And he really is still as quick as he always was in FIA karting. Good to see him back again. But look, there's no spray coming off the tyres now. So obviously the track is still wet in places, and it's not good enough for slicks yet. But give it 3 or 4 more races, and if it continues to dry out over lunch, 1 or 2 drivers may decide to bang on a set of slicks and see if that's what makes the difference. So we'll still have wet tyres for the rest of this morning. I don't think we're going to have slicks in time for the next heat or even the heat after. But it's definitely starting to dry out. And you can see there are still some big, heavy wet patches around the course. It's essentially that part of the track that is the reason we're still on wet tyres as Thompson continues on his way. Third position, trying to chase down Lorandi, but the race leader, Arthur Carbonell, has been absolutely majestic throughout. Here he is aboard the Sodi car as he runs in fine performance here. No major problems for him in this one. He's just never looked back. The kart feels strong. He feels confident. And thus far, Arthur Carbonell has been very impressive indeed. Into the second sector of the lap. The kart isn't even snapping away from him. He's just got it absolutely stable as he likes it. You dab at the throttle, the kart gains momentum, and he's able to pick up the throttle and keep it steady in a straight line. On the curbs through the corners, as you can see, he's riding the rails, as it were, and that's keeping the kart nicely planted. Here comes Arthur Carbonell after a fabulous drive there. A wisp of grass on the inside, but with the two wheels still on the racetrack, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Arthur Carbonell seals a victory once again here at Lonato. A brilliant drive. Alessio Lorandi in second and Harry Thompson in third. A great effort from Arthur Carbonell. He's been one of the standout talents of 2020 for me. He really has put on an exceptional display. He's never really been outside the top 6 in terms of one-lap pace. And he's been really impressive to make his way through. So after 13 laps and 15.6 kilometers of racing here at Lonato, it is Arthur Carbonell who is victorious for the CPB Sports Squad aboard his Sodi kart. Alessio Lorandi second for Parolin. Third for Forza is Harry Thompson. Slavik Putiatin and Giacomo Polini from Alex Dahlberg and Ben Tornfist, then Paolo Tanteri and Danilo Albanese. David Levinsky is 10th in the Birolart KSW. Jean Liet and Leonardo Bisotto from Nikita Atamanov and Lawrence Van Hopen. Arto Odjaranta and Kasper Kalasma from Chris Zani and Rodrigo Ferreira. Thomas Mishik in front of Federico Mascherlino. Then Jenis Savico, Luca Bosco, Alexandre Roux and Valentino Fritsch way down in 24th. Ahead of Christian Gafuri, Craig Tanich, Hannah Lang, Karl Lukaszewski and Belan Garcia. The retirements are Tom Lulet, Jacob Tallis and Noam Abramczyk in front of the two retirees on the opening lap, David Trevelov and Gabriel Bizozero.